It's okay. We got the captions. We're good.
I heard you.
Yeah, we've got the captions. We're good. We're good.
Cool.
We'll rewind and we'll start. So this is the RPG Unltd podcast where I mess up on the easiest part first. We are a podcast about tabletop gaming, and I'll be interviewing players, game masters, artists, and content creators for their unique views and processes when they play and or create content or etc. for tabletop role-playing games. So yeah, today we're talking with Diana Gaeta, who hosts a gaming track at CogsExpo and is also a fellow podcaster and blogger as well. If you guys want to keep up with her stuff, here is her information here. So yeah, how are you doing today? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm doing so good today. I am kind of, I don't know that that's such a big question, but I have a super crazy day job that I just came from before we started talking tonight, and I really channel all of my extra energies into creating community spaces and just tabletop gaming, essentially. So I'm really excited that I get to talk to you about it tonight. And I don't know, it's my one major passion in life. It's gaming, community spaces, and mishing them together. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. How did you get into running a gaming track at CogsExpo? And what is CogsExpo?
Oh, it's only my favorite thing ever. So the CogsExpo is a steampunk community, and COGS stands for the Community Organized Gathering of Steampunks, which is really what defines us. Essentially, everything is crowdsourced, everything is driven by the community, selected by the community, and everything is open, and there's a level of community awareness for everything that goes on and gets chosen. It's just a beautiful, loving space to be a part of. And when we started last May, we kind of made this community from the ground up. I just saw it as my opportunity to start running games in a convention space, which I had never done before. I'd only done it privately before. And doing that, I had so much fun that I just dove in. And when so it's not just me, certainly not just me. We have a gaming team, and my friend Andrew is really the head of that, and does such amazing, incredible work. And we together kind of create not just the gaming track at the con itself, but have also been doing fundraiser mini gaming only cons throughout the year, where we raise money for Boys and Girls Club of America, and also for the expo itself. And it's just been eye-opening. It's such a great experience to grow with these people and create this space. And so we're having our next one next month in Pennsylvania, and it's I don't know, I got into it, I guess, by accident. Just the opportunity was there, and the community games, and I wanted to give games to people, so that was what happened.
It's awesome. Games are a great gift to give people, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
I've got to admit, I have yet to go to any sort of con, expo, anything yet. Someday things will align.
Yeah.
What has your experience as an organizer been like?
Terrifying. I took this is so of our two miniature gaming cons. This is the first one that I've really taken the reins with, instead of being in the background assisting and running games, scheduling, organizing with the venues and finding opportunities for hotels and like all of these things. I mean, if you are going to conventions and enjoying those spaces, I will tell you right now, like it's precious, all of the work that has gone into it, because I have been a mess about it. It's been a lot of trial and error and lots of apologizing and begging for forgiveness. But it's been really it's been really fun too, and I've learned a lot. So hopefully I'll be better prepared for things in the future. So I like it.
Okay, that's awesome. Scheduling can be really, really hard, especially when you're working with so many different elements. And then, oh, hey, not only do I need to schedule this stuff, I got this other thing that's connected but not, that I also need to line up somehow. So I imagine that's kind of what it is with trying to set up stuff with hotels and stuff at the same time as setting stuff up with venues. And then, oh, hey, let's get this other stuff set too.
Yeah, it's a lot of juggling.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's just getting into running gaming tracks for events and conventions?
Wow, I would say that ask another person for advice. I'm not the. I would say that no, I would say that not trying to do anything alone is my one big piece of. Make sure that you have other people, and that there's not. Even if there's one person that's like in charge or at the head of something, having a team or having like support that you can go to try and have an extra set of eyes on things, because you will miss something, you will overlook something, and having a support system in terms of just backing yourself up is super important, crucial. So yeah, just not making it all on one person's shoulders is the number one piece of advice I'm gonna give.
See, that's pretty big. There are a lot of people who will try and shoulder a huge amount of responsibility on their own. I've done that before, and it was a disaster because some things really, really should not be a single person. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said you're a podcaster as well. Tell us a bit about your podcast.
Oh gosh, it's my favorite. So the podcast is called Femsplained, and it is it started. So my best friend in this whole is a West Coaster, just like you, and being best friends with someone who's super far away is challenging and hard because you miss them all the time. So it kind of started as a way, as a sort of an excuse to be more in contact with each other and to have like a scheduled reason to be in contact with each other. And it became a way of dealing with the fact that we are nerdy, queer women who are in these like really, really male dominated, really, really heteronormative spaces like tabletop gaming. I mean, I'm like, see you nodding. like tabletop gaming, video games, comic books, all of these interests that we have. And we decided to use it as a way to explore that, our differing interests, and to share them with each other, but also to share what our experience has been like being sort of a marginalized group within this kind of nerd culture. And it's been really fun. We've learned a lot about editing. We've learned a lot about each other. We've learned a lot about other forms of media. We've introduced each other to fandoms. She now watches Critical Role. That's maybe the biggest that's maybe the biggest like time investment I've ever successfully convinced someone to make, because she damn did it, like the whole first and second campaign. Yeah.
That's huge. I've been trying so long, because when I first came into contact with Critical Role, it was towards the end of it, of the first season, and I have not been able to get past that first episode of that season for whatever reason. I don't know if it's time of day or that I'm trying to watch it or what. I don't get through it, and it's frustrating because it's like, but I enjoy it. Why am I having a hard time with the start?
It's rough going back. Like if you like, I tried to watch some of their earlier episodes, and I did when I first got introduced to it, which was like a year and a half ago. So also kind of towards the end of campaign 1, but I going back to rewatch those episodes now, like seeing where they are in terms of like their video quality, their audio quality, their like comfort with each other, even, it's like kind of hard. It's like going back and listening to the first episode of my own podcast, which is also terrifying. Yeah.
Oh god, that reminds me of my first ever stream, where I was doing a game that I'd never played at all. I didn't know anything about joining lobbies or anything. So I go in and I find a lobby that has 0 people in it. I'm like, yeah, this is a good thing, right? Because people will join. No. It was me running around that map for like 40 minutes before I figured out no one else was joining that lobby. I figured out how to die in a game where you're not supposed to be able to kill yourself. So that was interesting, but it was just... It was an entire thing.
That's a skill unlocked, yeah.
And that was my very first highlight, because I was like, that was such a big fail. I'm gonna look back at someday and laugh. And yeah, I do. It's a great example of horrible first streams and where basically everyone starts.
Oh yeah, I mean that's where you have to start.
Yeah. And just sound issues. Always sound stuff. Forever and ever.
Yeah, that's just on loop.
Yeah, the world will end. There will still be sound issues.
Yeah.
So you kind of answered my next question as well, which is how you got into podcasting. How has your experience with podcasting been up to this point?
It's been... Every time I say it's been, I am having the hardest time not saying 1 week since I looked at you. So I keep saying it, and I keep hearing it in my head to acknowledge it. So, okay. The experience has been really like mind-blowing in a way that I can't quite... It's not like we have blown up or any kind... We haven't like gone viral or anything enormous like that's happened. The experience with it has more been that I've grown like a much deeper connection to this person that I love, that is an entire country away. It's crazy how much it's grown our relationship. It's also introduced me to new media, new fandom, new content. It's given me weird opportunities that I never would have imagined, like this one right now, talking to you, or just interacting with other content creators. We've connected with other podcasters like the Damsels of Dorkington, who reached out to us after hearing our content, and now not only are they content creators, we also they're our friends that talk to and play RPGs with sometimes online, and it's just building more relationships, friendships, connections with people that otherwise, how would that have ever happened? That's been my experience with it, really.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
That should be a bit better. Thank you for the heads up there, Eternal Gaming. How long have you been a content creator?
Well, one that I share my content in a non-anonymous format, probably about about a year and a half. Prior to that, it's all anonymous fan fiction that you will not, you do not get to know. but being out and proud about my content creation, yeah, probably just a year and a half or something like that.
Kind of feel it on that whole fan fiction in. I wrote something probably 15 years ago. I hope nobody can find that stuff anymore because it was horrible. It was so bad.
I didn't hide it very well, but I'm not broadcasting. Yeah.
What has your journey as a content creator been like?
So it really started about a year and a half ago. I moved to Queens. I moved here in a hurry, and it was a little bit far away from everyone else I had used to engage with, play games with. I was actually really spoiled for gaming as a consumer. I lived around the corner from a gaming store that was super active. I had a lot of gamer friends, and we had games almost every other night, it felt like. So I was very spoiled for that, but I was very unhappy in many other ways. So I had left and came to Queens, and was suddenly kind of detached from that world of gaming. I had no one to consume it from around me. I had nobody offering it to me like I once did. And so that was kind of the thing that sparked it. I was too nervous though, because I'd never created a game of my own. I'd been playing games for so long. Sorry, I just went dark. So I'd been playing, but I had never created my own content, created my own world, run my own games, any of those things, even though they were always kind of swimming around in my head. What I what sparked it really was not just finding Critical Role, because I watched Critical Role, I found it and started binging it, but it was when I had watched Matt Mercer had done a stream about like things like imposter syndrome and about like his like sensitivities about his body and things like that. And I remember thinking like this person that I think of as like the god of DMing is also like nervous, insecure, has his own like fears and worries about what he's making and showing to the world. I do that. Why can't I just share it with like a couple of people in my apartment? So that's when I did like a really ridiculous that I still can't believe I've done. Is I went on the Reddit for the town that I live in. I went on the local Reddit and I posted like basically a wanted ad, and I was just like, I need nerds, I need gamers in my life. Where are you? Where do I find you? And a bunch of people gave me recommendations for gaming stores and places to go. But one person privately messaged me and was like, hey, I promised all my friends that I'd run a game of D&D, but I'm too scared. So if you do it, we'll be your friends. and I was like, check. Yes, absolutely. That's what I want. And a year and a half later, these boys who come to my house every Sunday, they are a little family of mine. They are amazing. The world that we've built together, it's a homebrewed campaign, but it's equally built, obviously, by them. Everything they've done is shaping it as I've been shaping it. And they are fantastic. They are so willing to get emotionally invested. They are so willing to be creative and think outside the box, and most of them are first-time players, so they've really like let me go 1000% into this the way that I wanted to. So it actually took seeing someone be really vulnerable, who I thought of as like the ultimate in content creation, to make me feel like, oh, I can do that too. And so that's how that happened.
There, unmute. That's awesome. I didn't catch that myself, but I remember seeing his tweets about it. And this was right about the time that I was thinking about launching my own as ADM. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary to be like, especially if it's something you've made yourself. It's your own little thing. It's your own little baby, and you gotta wonder what other people are gonna do with it, because they could do really awesome things, or they could do something really scary. And I think that's one of the biggest things is the fear of someone doing something, mean to it for the sake of being mean. Answer.
Sure.
No, I remember that. And yeah, I understand similar feeling. I reached out on Twitter for people. I was really looking for diversity as hard as I could. It may not have played out exactly how I wanted, but a lot better than if I'd gone with my average group that I play with, because my first group was a group where there were like 3 females, and we had 21 players at one point in that campaign. It was, yeah. Yep. It was nuts.
I closed the door at 8.
Oh no, we were all there on time.
No, 8 players. I closed the door off.
Yeah, no,
Oh my god.
It was a case of my DM just wanted to play with all of his friends. So he's crazy on that end. And I mean, it to this day still my favorite campaign. 100% homebrew stuff. Outside of when you started out with basic class and races, but towards the end, you're discovering your character wasn't what you thought it was. It's turning into other things. So it was crazy, and I hope we can revisit it at some point. Hopefully. He's
How long has it been?
2 years. We had a day where we came in and we played, and insanity happened. 3 players ended up with a deck of mini and every card.
It's a game breaker. It's so...
Yeah, especially when that happens.
Like the thing is like, I don't care if this campaign ends tonight anymore. Here you guys have a deck of...
Yeah, and then most of the a lot of players have dropped out. So it's okay. So we've got these 3 people who did get the deck of mini who are still in, and then the 3-4 other people. So it's a regular sized campaign again, towards the large end, but still regular. And the guys got to figure out how to rework stuff, because some characters were tied in so close with players that aren't there now that their characters cannot exist without them. So it's like, all right, how do we do this? Because he doesn't want to just retcon it. You know, I've argued for that. It's like, we'll just retcon it. And he's like, no, that will mess up the story, because that would be half the campaign. Well, especially if it's over half the story that you retcon. That's too much work. I can understand that. The other thing was with my character, because mine's one of those characters that's tied into another one. I was like, well, she's a druid. And I started doing research, and it's like, okay, so there's a thing in a lot of D&D universes that is in our world that has been a thing in a lot of societies, with the belief that if you eat a person, you gain that person's essence, right? My character's a druid. Why doesn't she just eat the characters she relies on? This character dies and she eats them, because it's the only way to survive.
That's dark and twisted, but I don't hate it.
It's a bit of a dark campaign, but it's like that or my character dies, and when I talked to him about it, that's when I found out my character is actually really integral, which is great. I think every character should be, and that's where I can see 21 characters being rough, because making 21 people really important the entire time is, oh god.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Because I also like to make every PC not just important, but vital to the story almost. Whatever arc that I'm writing in, the one which we are writing about on Tales from High Risk. So Tales from High Risk .wordpress.com. We're writing the shared campaign. That's another thing that we're doing. But you can read. I had this over arc that they just finished over the last year about the elements and their connection to them, and trying to open up the Fey, and basically making every character, each PC, vitally important to the story actually panning out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you have that player tendency to want to wander off.
Oh man, yeah.
See the shiny things over there. If you give them vital importance, and make them feel vitally connected to the meta plot that you've got going on, then they're going to want to stay with it instead of necessarily opening up a shop in town.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to do a resolution when the person's like, I'm ready to move on, And that's something I've thought about is, with one I run is, okay, if someone decides they want out, different ways we could resolve that and bring in maybe someone else where it's smooth and it makes sense. And that's another thing, because that's another level of planning you gotta do as a what if that may never happen. What I hadn't planned on, because my campaign that I run, all my players are DMs. I did not expect them to split the party first day. And they did. It's like, you guys know. You know. And they did it anyways. And if it hadn't been for time constraints and that I wanted to end stuff on a clean up for the night, we could have had half the party die day one to Doppler rats. I mean, because the rate the rolls were going at, they were failing cons left and right. They would have died 1 HP at a time, and it would have been
1 HP at a time.
Yeah,
that's it. Just whittle them down.
Yeah, I mean, on a stress level, that's really stressful. That would be really, really stressful, especially for the people who are like, oh God, we messed up and we can't get back. Because we're over an hour away in-game. There's nothing we can do. Besides sit here and wait and watch.
Well, that's what happens when you split the game.
Yeah.
So you can't help. Yeah.
So, because of time constraints, I ended up modifying the behavior of the Doppler rats, which made them actually defeatable in that instance. Because, again, the party wasn't supposed to split. It would have been just fine if they had split. And if rolls were nearly as bad, they were surprisingly bad. They were. Oh, no. So, we managed to get that step to where we didn't have a bunch of people dying, but we do have the unfortunate thing where our healer has Doppler disease. And, because he's forsaken his god, he's not able to call on them to remove theirs. Oops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no, that sucks.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that current? That's currently what's happening?
Current, yeah. Yeah, current. We're coming up on, should be episode 4 next week. It would have been previous week, but I was too sick, and we ended up with half the players sick, and I ran a short thing with just 2 players, just a little side quest thing. We'll see if that remains canon, or if it was just a goofy thing that happened because I had fever and weird fever things happened.
Yeah, oh god. Fever dreams are very heavily related.
Yeah. Well, and when they merge into your D&D, it gets weird. It could have gone much weirder than it did. I think it actually stayed fairly normal, considering outside of, this one kid's abnormally high stealth.
Stealth, my game has stealth gate. There was an argument in the beginning of the campaign whether stealth check that you'd make or a condition that you were under, and the fight that ensued, it was the only time we've had a fight in game at my table where it reached to people being personally offended.
Over stealth. Oh wow.
It's over stealth, over the rule of stealth. I know, so silly.
Could it be a difference from different backgrounds as players? From coming from different systems?
Well, because non-D&D players, and you're talking about people who had background in like video games where a little bit things like that work a little bit differently, and then yeah. So, but that it's always a fun memory whenever the word stealth comes up. Or like, is everybody okay? Are we gonna be okay?
Can we survive this?
I'm gonna move. We're gonna move. Can I stealth my way past this argument? Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit different than dealing with rules lawyers. When I first got into D&D, that first group, we had one person who was constantly rules book, and the D&D would, well, the DM would occasionally go by it, and then other times it's like, no, DM law here, and they would go rounds on stuff sometimes, and then it's like, okay, but you want to go off of lore, so if you want to go off of lore, you need to go off of this bit here, because otherwise it doesn't fit, and it was like, okay, can we play? Because I just want to play. Can I go and wild shape and then fail my attack rolls because my character is high and the animal can't stand intoxicants?
Yeah. No. It just makes me care a little. I experienced rules lawyering way more when I was, before DMing. It was a much more prominent thing that I noticed when I was playing at the table. There was always going to be a person that wanted to like not just lawyer the rules, but to also like nitpick the rules and like find a very specific like flaw in some kind of wording and like use it, and it just, it's that you're not wrong, you're just a jerk.
Yeah.
Like mentality, and you're holding up what everybody else is trying to do. And the narrative too, like the story breaks down the more that you spend arguing over rules, like whatever you're that really nice, especially in a good gaming session, when you have that suspension of disbelief where everybody is in their characters, they're in their headspace, they're acting as their characters, and then someone gets very nitpicky about a rule. If it's like a 2-second, like, oh no, I can't extra slot or whatever, no big deal. We say that, we pass it on, and we move on. But when it's like, no, I can do this, like this technically doesn't say, and like arguing and whatever, it brings you totally out of that. And it brings all the other players out of it too. And now everybody's thinking about rule books, and now this is what separates a game of like D&D from a game of like Warhammer 40k or whatever, where it's totally the whole game is rules lawyering each other. You're trying to do that. In D&D, we're trying to tell a story together.
Yeah.
We're trying to collaborate. We're not against each other. And you're not against the DM.
Except for the occasional case where most of the party's good and you've got that evil player that's actually working for the other
people. Yeah, that's no, you're right. That does happen occasionally. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's happening in my game right now. No, I don't know what I hope for. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your experience with tabletop multi-game gaming? How were you first introduced?
I think the first tabletop role-playing game, sorry, one second. First tabletop role-playing game Has to be, yeah, Magic the Gathering. No, not Magic the Gathering. Stupid. Vampire the Masquerade was the first tabletop role-playing game that I played, and that was when I was in high school, and it didn't. The campaign last very long. None of the campaigns I was a part of in high school ever lasted. It was very short lived. And after school, or like sometimes like happening like on our lunch like sessions, like nothing ever went anywhere or picked up. And then there was a gap, like all through college. I had no like exposure. Like everybody was just, I don't know, everybody was just stressed out and drunk and crying all the time. There was no gaming in college. I don't know what happened there.
I think some gaming might have helped.
Yeah, it would have really helped. I think college was just a mess, and then outside of that, then got immediately into 3.5, and then Pathfinder. Pretended that fourth edition didn't happen, and then started playing games too. Was another thing that happened right after college, like playing Changeling, playing Demon, Scion, all of these other great narrative based RPGs. And then 5th edition came out, and then the light shone world. It's just beautiful, it's gorgeous, and I ran to it so hard. So yeah, my first edition D&D was 3.5. But before that, Vampire the Masquerade was the first. Like a true little goth girl in high school that
I'm not sure if it was even out when I was in high school. I would have been all over it, or at least attempted as much as I attempted D&D, which I think was 2.5 at the time. It was a ways back. But we never got off the ground. I rolled so many characters that I never got to play, and I've noticed that's a very, very common thing for people.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to count or attempt to count off of memory over 15 years ago from back then I've got definitely over 50 characters that I've created, not the like 16, 17, not counting the stuff I've made since I became a DM, because I'm not counting my NPCs.
I count mine.
Well, I would, but about half of them right now are characters that I've rolled since 5.0 that I haven't gotten to play. It's like, here's my chance.
Yeah.
Fit them into this world, and because not much had happened, it makes it, it's one of the plus sides, is it makes it a lot easier to fit most of them. I have one that would be difficult, because she is very backstory heavy, and I mired her to fit right into existing lore in lore books that are out there. It's like, because for me to have been able to play her in the campaign she was meant for, if that campaign had gotten off the ground, she was multi-background. That was the only way to really work her, so I had to back that up. The DM's like, if I'm going to allow this, you need to justify it. I need the backstory. It needs to make sense. I'm like, how do I make this make sense?
Yeah.
I dig deep into lore. So.
Yeah. That's something that I do as a DM too. Pretty much if you want to respec, if you want to have a dual background, if you want to I have a guy basically getting skills in blacksmithing. You want to do whatever of those things that you want. Play it out. Role play it. Give me a story that backs it up. Then I'll let you do it. There's no such thing as, and that's for everything. That's for every stupid little thing too. Like, I don't, especially like when it comes to having school players at your table, which is something I have more of a thing. It's not so much a problem with my like home brewed home game, but like at cons, you get a lot of those old school players who say things like, "I roll diplomacy." I was like, "No, prove it. Say."
Yeah.
What are you saying to roll diplomacy? What is happening? What are you doing? And encouraging more of a story, more of a narrative, more role play, which is why I'm there. So yeah.
That's one of the things where I found Session Zero's huge. My first couple campaigns I played in, we didn't do Session Zeros. We just kind of hopped in and this is the playstyle. Okay. Session Zero is like, we're all on the same field because this is what we all want together as a group. And I feel like it makes it easier because there's no missed expectations. Everybody knows what the expectation is. I know with my group, sometimes roleplay end is hard because they are part of that older group. Some of them have been DMing since they were in high school and stuff. They're all mid-30s for the most part. Or, DMing long enough to be set in a pattern of, I roll for this, but you don't necessarily say what you do. So that is definitely something, that I'm doing the same thing there with the encouragement. Okay, so you're doing a charisma roll. Well, what are you rolling charisma for? What are you investigating? What are you looking for when you roll a perception? Are you looking for anything, or are you just kind of looking around? Because if you're just looking around, you don't need to roll. That's what your passive is for. So, and that's something that I like using. It's one of the things that bugged me for a while, and as a DM, I'm glad that I can mitigate myself, is like, okay, we've got this stat that, in my personal experience, doesn't get used. If you don't roll it, you don't see it. Okay, is that how people go about real life? Do people seriously walk around not paying attention at all to where they're walking? I know I do, but that might be a gender. That might be a gender thing. So.
There's no such thing as like that whole I roll to seduce the dragon.
Oh, I've experienced that. Oh, it was hilarious.
If they say I roll to seduce the dragon, roll to seduce whatever, like, I'm sorry, you just walked yourself into an irreversible trap where now you have to tell me what you would say / do to make a dragon want to bone you.
Right.
You have to say that now, because I'm not letting you roll that until you do.
Personally, that's one of those things where I take into account races and size, and I'm not in a bit on the gender end.
Yeah.
Because some things just aren't logistically possible at some sizes. A kender, honestly, trying to seduce a dragon basically needs to be male. Because otherwise let's not go there.
That's a whole, you've put thought into that I did not think to.
My fiance is one of my players. He is one of those players, so I have to think like that. Because I need to...
every character in me.
Flaming Flame Skull, wow. Okay, it's great. What kind of things do you do to prepare yourself both as a player and a character before a game?
To get myself like prepared for it.
Yeah.
So I put on the that I have made for the game, which is usually like a lot of Skyrim OST, some general Elder
Mic off.
Dragon Age soundtrack. I usually have like a lot of video game music on in the background while I'm setting up.
Mic on.
I like to have like a good hour before a game starts where I can see everything out in front of me, like stuff that at the point in the campaign now, especially for my home game, where we've been going for so long, where there's so many threads. You know, there's personal arcs, and then there's the over arc, and then side quests and things. So having like things out and in front of me and clear, and like knowing that I have everything in my accessibility. And then just having like, I also like to just kind of daydream a bit. So having like the Skyrim OST on in the background of my apartment and just sort of like staring blankly at the table and being imagining different scenarios. That's kind of like how I prepare, I guess, for running a game. For playing a game, I don't prepare at all. It's open the beer and start role playing. That's my preparedness for being a PC. But for being a DM, it's a lot of music.
With the systems you have played, which one were your most favorite, and which one was your least favorite, and why?
Okay. So I think if we're talking about just D&D, my most favorite is 5e. I think 5e is gorgeous. It's great. Now that I've finally gone back and played sessions after playing 5e of both 3.5 and Pathfinder, Pathfinder is actually my least favorite. I think that 3.5 is still pretty solid. So I think Pathfinder in that realm is 5e is my most. 4e I couldn't even get like a game to happen, so I don't even know if it counts. But it's bad. But overall, like tabletop gaming, tabletop RPG, the White Wolf system is actually probably my favorite. It just allows so much for storytelling to lead the game, and for creativity from the players to take over the game. I love that. That's kind of my favorite, as both a player and as a. So I think that I would take the White Wolf World of Darkness D10 system as like my ultimate fave, if we're talking about like broad systems.
Okay. Well, that was from another person that's already. I can answer that one a few times over. Within the tabletop community, what has your experience been? What do you think's been good, and what do you think could improve? Yeah, that's the big one.
Good question, whoever that was. Great job. So much of what I'm doing I want to be doing, at least, even in my home game, but also in running games at conventions, hosting gaming spaces, is that inclusivity in gaming has not always been the best. So when I first tried breaking into gaming, when I was like pre-high school, even, like, I was a part of, my libraries, my local libraries, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh, all of those things were coming into popularity, and that was the first time I ever realized that I was excluded from something. Just as being a young female-bodied person, you are kind of automatically dismissed. That kind of spread over when I got to high school and wanted to gaming. There were people I could get myself engaged with it in, and there was always a presumption, lots of story arcs where mysteriously I'm the victim of something, lots of story arcs and narratives where my character is kidnapped, lots of story arcs and narratives where everybody else has to save me from something. And it took me a long time to realize that's just something that's so pervasive in all of our media. So obviously it comes and translates into our gaming experience. And then, I mean, that's just as being like a identifying as a woman, just that's your default there. But then as a queer person, there's just an extra, and then, like, I don't know, like, people of color must have even an epic ton more barriers to entry into these spaces. So it's just like the more that you are separated from the homogenous group of what is known to be like nerds and gamers, it becomes more and more difficult to break in, and not just to break in, but to feel like, I mean, the goal isn't just to, like, punch your way through and then sit there. It's to feel comfortable and welcomed, and to, like, be able to feel free and to act and tell stories and have fun and laugh together. We shouldn't be strangling our way into these spaces. So one of the bigger challenges is feeling welcomed and accepted. But one of my favorite things is that now that I've started to kind of aggressively make those spaces feel more welcoming, like in all of my campaigns, stories, one-shots, whatever, there will be queer people. There will be people with various levels of disabilities or illnesses or whatever. They will be there. They exist, and it will not necessarily be a big deal. They just will. And people at the table will, learn very quickly to use, welcoming and inclusive language and whatever. And it doesn't affect the game, really. It doesn't affect the way that the story is. But what it does do is it makes for these spaces to suddenly become, like, more fun for more people, which, when is that ever not good? And that's been a great experience, because it was something that I thought was going to have a lot more resistance or pushback or whatever, but it really just hasn't so much. It's making things normal, making abnormal to see the princess has been kidnapped storyline, and making it more normal to see, that there are two kings of one city, because that can exist in a fantasy realm, and as it does in real life. So, it's been a really nice thing to see that it actually just makes more people feel welcome in a gaming environment, and not, it doesn't really change the nature of the game itself.
I agree. Like I said, when I started looking for players, that's one of the things I looked for was how can I include these groups that aren't regularly in. And while it may not have panned the way I wanted to, and maybe next time I go looking for players, there's another way to word it where I do get a more diverse group than what I have. And part of that was timing. I had quite a few people that I would have loved to have that I couldn't because schedule conflicts, which is rough. Maybe next time. But no, I think part of it is timing too. I think 3-4 years ago, trying to do the same thing would have been a very different thing. Even not recently than now, because even now you'll see groups where that's one of their big pushes, and you'll see large pushback from some areas on that. Which is frustrating. It's like, can we move past this already? Can we grow up? Can we really grow up? Because that's really what it is. So.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the big things, is letting people know, hey, this is a community that's opening up, and you don't have to be ashamed or feel like you don't belong, because you do. And if someone doesn't, well, they're not your people anyways. So.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go ahead and take a quick, probably about 5, maybe 10-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll open Q&A. Alright, and we're back, and I gotta turn my captions back on. Oh, it's not my captions. There's no pop. No. There we go. Alright, and so we're ready to open up the Q&A, and we already had a couple questions posted. Chat, if you have questions, go ahead and post them. I do not have a command link. I'll grab them as they come. Darth Torlin asked earlier, what is your favorite board game?
My favorite board game? Ooh, alright, so I'm super into Betrayal at House on Hill right now. Holy cow, what a good game. I mean, I know it's kind of like it's almost like cheating because it's essentially like the closest thing to an RPG you can get from a board game. But it's so good. My good board games. I love Dice Forge. I'm so psyched about Dice Forge. It's going to be at the con we're doing next month. I'm really excited to play it again because I've only played it a couple of times. But it's like a board game, but like along the path you get to like construct your own dice, and then as you build better dice, your chances of winning the game get better or worse, because it's basically like if you could like add more d20 to your die, and like if you could add more 20s, to your d20, like in a game of D&D, that's essentially what this is. Or like if you're doing poorly, you add more one to die. But it's super fun. So yeah, straight up like simple board game without RPG elements. I think Dice Forge is right now my fave, but Betrayal at House on Hill, oof, it's so good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Dice Forge. I might have to look into it because that sounds really interesting. It's like, oh hey,
it's very fun.
There's the D&D
like
side where like once upon a time might have been like, can we integrate this game so I'm not failing every roll?
Yeah. I really like a board game that gives me something. I'm a very like tactile person and a fidgety person. If you haven't been watching me, it should be clear as day. But I like games where they give you something that you actually get to like manipulate or like physically change. So Dice Forge, satisfying for that.
So as a child, Mousetrap would have been up there because that's definitely hands-on.
I just used Mousetrap as an aside, in October, our first mini gaming con for Cogs, I ran a game of Honey Heist, and Honey Heist, like, it is totally like just fun and games narrative, and we do it with booze, so it's very, very free form. There are no hex grids. None of that's happening. But it was one of my favorite moments in Gamer, where I had them go travel under the city to find the stash of honey they needed to rob. And that's the point of Honey Heist. You're trying to rob a bunch of honey. You're bears, by the way. So they go under the city, and when they get to where like the mechanism to unlock it, I like uncovered a sheet, and Mousetrap was there, like part of the way set up, and they had to like finish the Mousetrap and like set it off. That's why Mousetrap is sitting on top of my refrigerator right now, and I don't know what to do with it now other than that. But yeah, Mousetrap is A+.
Find more ways to integrate it to games. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I wanted that game. My parents didn't want to do it because they're like, you're gonna lose like a couple pieces and it'll be unplayable. And it's like, that's not the point. Sometimes it's fun when you're missing pieces and you have to figure stuff out.
Yeah, your parents are right. I have lost 3 pieces. I 2 months ago as a 31-year-old adult. So, yep. Yep.
I know that feel. What led them to that was games like Hungry Hungry Hippo, where we lost pieces, and it didn't hurt nearly as much, but maybe it really messed with the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Java the Butts asked, what is the best way to give critical feedback to a DM?
Java the Butts has a great Discord handle. Giving feedback to the DM is, I think, always done best if it's not something very simple. If it's something like if it's not something that can be resolved within a 5-second interaction, don't do it in game. Out of game and in person or in private conversation is the best, because ultimately we are wrong sometimes. We make mistakes, we make errors. The narrative is happening, the story is happening, the suspension of disbelief is happening. In D&D, we're playing a big game of improv. So the big rule of improv is yes and, right? So you mess up as DM. We do it all the time. We mess up. But if it's not something we can fix in a very quick interaction, roll with the mess up and then talk to us after. Tell us in private, just like with anything else, with people, and not wanting to be confrontational, tell us friendly, constructive way that was not, can we do it differently next time, or can we change the way we approach subjects like this, etc. Because then you can definitely still improve in that way. Most DMs would be willing to work with and adjust with you. I know that I would hope that most would, but I think people in general react better to criticism when they don't have an audience. If you have like the whole table looking at you being criticized, it's more likely that you're going to find you're clamped up and defensive. If it's one-on-one, it's easier to take a little bit of criticism. It's easier to be like, maybe I did screw that. So yeah, that's my take on it.
One of the cool tools that they do over on Scraticus' channel, and it's on a few other channels. It's I can't remember who it was who came up with it, but there's 2 different systems he uses. One is a system of check-ins to make sure, hey, are you okay with what's going on in this scene, or because when people get into characters, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's a character reaction or a player reaction. So, a system for check-ins is really, really awesome. Another thing he has is a document, and it's anonymous, but of subject matter that you don't want to deal with, and he'll talk about at the beginning of stuff. All right, so here's our check-in system. Here's our system on how we handle specific types of scenarios that people have let us know that they're not comfortable with. And I think that's really, really powerful, because it's peace of mind for both the DM and for the players to know, hey, this subject we don't deal with, or this subject we kind of tiptoe around because this is a thing. He's got this hard rule where sex doesn't happen. If the characters are going to have that interaction, he's not saying that it never happens in games and stuff, But on his channel, everything fades to black, and then they continue after that scene was taking place, which is, you know, really, really smart when you're going for family content. You know. And maybe with Twitter in general, definitely. Well, Twitch. Twitter's different. But with Twitch, definitely, you know, because I know there are people out there who would get really, really graphic with that stuff and other things.
Yeah, that happens.
Murder hobos will be murder hobos sometimes, and sometimes they will be very detailed murder hobos.
I haven't been a part of a murder hobo campaign. I'm very happy for that.
I've been in a few with the right group. It can be a lot of fun. But that's the thing. It's got to be the right group, and it's got to be the right balance. And I mean, if you've got people there where that's not that thing, and that's not what they signed up for, of course, it's not going to be as fun, because this person's going to be like, do you have to do this? Do you have to do that? Is that necessary? And that, you know, that breaks it. That breaks the immersion.
Yeah. Breaking the immersion is.
That's
the whole thing.
I've learned that embracing the rule of cool is really great for that, because, you know, someone could say something, maybe it wasn't planned, maybe it's something that's a bit off the wall. It's like, alright, is this something that would still fit in? Okay, then we'll let it go, because, hey, that's kind of cool. Which I think is a great way to handle stuff with, you know, as far as the rules lawyer stuff. It's like, so yeah, we've got these rules, but we don't necessarily follow them because this is cool anyways. You know? So.
My last big rule of cool that I experienced as a DM was also me getting like epically trolled by one of my but he trolled me so good. It would have been so easy for me to rules lawyer him out of this experience, but he tricked me so well that I was just like, this is the coolest thing anyone has ever done. I love this. So they had just finished this whole arc that I set up for them for the last year. They had done this whole thing with getting these keys to travel to the Fey Realm, putting them back where they belong, fighting like a patron of gods, and like just a lot of shit happening. They come back to their world, and now they're looking for direction of like where to go next. Like they have all these looming threats. They've just angered a bunch of shots and made a whole bunch of new enemy armor. So our cleric is like, I do a ritual to like, my god, I need to do this spell. It requires a sacrifice. So he's going around town, and they have lots of friends in this hometown. They keep there. They've been playing for so long. So he asks them, asks around for people to try to find like a giant book, like the best one they can find, something he needs. And he's made it known to me that he to make this like sacrifice to make this ritual go off. We did have one TPK in this game. Not one TPK, one actual like permadeath in this game, sorry. A PC had like maybe a month before this had died permanently, and he re-rolled a character. And it was really disappointing for me because I put a lot into a sister, and I cared too much about her. So that character had died. Our cleric came back to the keep while he's waiting for people to deliver like this supposed giant ghost, hopefully, that he can sacrifice to make his spell go off. And he goes to the grave of a fallen comrade. He tries to comfort his sister. It's a whole beautiful scene. And, you know, as a grave cleric, like, respecting death, he, like, picks up a bunch of dirt from the grave, puts it in a pouch around, and, like, tells resources that, like, they're gonna do whatever they can to get her home, you know, can do. So whatever, I'm like, okay, first, okay, back to the giant goat for you to, you know, for you to takes the giant goat to the temple, and then he describes what's going on. He's tying the goat up outside the temple, and he goes inside, like, starts, like, saying the words of this ritual, and I'm like, what are you fucking, oh, can I say that? Is that okay?
It's fine.
Oh,
It's fine.
I'm like, what do you do? And so he takes the pouch of the dirt from the grave and stabs it and pours over the floor of this temple and does the ritual that. And, like, the spell is oddly, the ritual is a long cast. The ritual is oddly worded, so it doesn't necessarily suggest that it has to be a living creature, but it implies it. So it was one of those things where in that moment I definitely could have been like, this doesn't work. But he had fucking gotten a giant goat for free by trolling me. Like, not for free, it was, I him like menial gold, because I was like, oh, you're gonna slaughter this goat. So they have this goat, and I definitely let it go because the coolness factor of all the trickery he had pulled off was just too good. Yeah, so now they ride with that. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do about it going forward, but I love it.
That sounds like a different kind of thing. I don't think I've ever had a campaign where I played where the ritual and stuff was described, so I might keep that in mind. Like, okay, if you're casting this ritual, what does that look like? So,
Yeah.
thanks for the info on that. Okay. Eye of the Night asks, have you ever seen a guy get flack for playing a female character? How did that situation get handled?
Their handle is I am the Night.
Yes.
I like that a lot. Okay. Have I ever seen a male player get flack for playing a female character? Absolutely. Way more so, weirdly, than a lady PC playing a male character, because I've done that a million, never gotten any. In fact, I'm probably more it's just one of those things where I really do think that the default in everyone's minds in these spaces is that everyone is a dude. It's the default of what everyone's understanding is in these gaming spaces, and it's just more normalized even for women to play male characters because of that same exact thing, just like in anything else. In theater in high school, I was cast as male characters more times than I was cast as lady characters, and that was just a thing that I got used to. I think that men who play lady characters are definitely gonna be facing another barrier there, absolutely, but I think that you should do it. I think you should you should do it ad nauseum until it is normal, because why not? We are playing dragons, we are playing lizard people, we're playing now bugbears are a playable class. We are playing every fantasy thing imaginable under the sun. Why would it be weird to play a gender that you don't identify with? Just do it and normalize the crap out of it.
I can see it's something I've experienced too. I've got a player in my campaign that is playing a female, and I've got another player, and that's basically a substitute. Well, another one is out, and I actually need to have a sit down with that particular player because they're having a hard time wrapping their head around this male player playing a female character. And it's people that actually know each other IRL, so it's like, okay, I need to be aware of my environment here, and this.
Yeah. And that's a good example about what we were talking about, is talking about things out of game is okay. Yeah. Like working those things out outside of the game is cool. Like, there's no reason we have to like stop the conversation once the game ends. Yeah.
I know I've had a campaign where I've experienced as a female player playing male, and the DM was so used to females playing females that they consistently forgot that my character was actually a male. And it's like, yeah, not only was my character male, it was a different, human, it was a different race, and he kept forgetting that as well. And it's like, no, totally, this guy's got like a full-on fro. He is a large, beautiful black man. So, and that was.
We're playing a game where magic exists, where elves are a thing, halflings, kobolds, like there's no reason.
Yeah, and I mean, you travel to different planes. It's
yeah.
There's
no reason for diversity to not exist.
The Knight says the way he sees it, it's the same as a male author writing female character, period. But he's experienced issues because people find out that he plays a female character and the two characters were developing male romance. Nothing overt, mind you, but it nearly ended the campaign. And yeah, that can be a thing, and it's frustrating, and it shouldn't be like that.
Okay, that's I didn't catch all of that, so I get the part about writing a female character. It should be the same, it should be the same as that, but it different when with an author you're on the page, you don't necessarily have to interact in real time with people. In a RPG, you are. Oh, thank you for posting that. I personally have issues because people find out I play a female character and the two characters developing a romance. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That
says it was a precursor to a session.
Yeah, absolutely. That I don't love, but you know what? Like, so someone was uncomfortable with the fact that was like an online campaign don't mind me asking, I have the need.
Says the session started out in posts.
Because I assume that there's gonna be some level of whatever weird homophobia or thing behind that, with, you know, someone romancing another character, like when they're playing that gender. And so, you know, God, if I had the answer to curing homophobia, I'd unleash it on the world now. I don't know. I definitely don't.
Okay. So he says it was backstory building, and then when the Camboys part happened, it was like, whoa, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, and it is a thing that'll happen, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to normalize the space a little bit more, with the fact that people will play many different things, and that what a person's gender or gender identity isn't necessarily what they're going to play. And that's one of the great things about the whole thing, is you have the ability to explore other ways of existing as a person.
Yeah. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't play characters to kind of explore my identity as a person. Like, you know, there's maybe a reason that I like to play food barbarians occasionally. Like, there's you maybe exploring your identity through fictional characters is kind of a part of it. And if you know, it might be a blessing in disguise to kind of find these people who are maybe not ready for that, and you don't have to play with them, you don't have to engage with them. Really, I don't know, they don't deserve gaming spaces either. If they're not ready to accept your personhood and your identity and your ability to explore. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
You know, it's definitely a route I've taken. It's a way to explore the things that maybe where I'm at in life I'm not able to explore in another way. I know that's another thing that I've noticed can sometimes be hard to bring into the space, is actual romance. I've noticed, you know, over time, it took me a while, but thinking back, I realized none of my characters have ever gotten romantically involved with anyone else. And it's not necessarily that they already had significant others or wouldn't have been interested or anything. It didn't happen. So I know that's one of the other things I want to do, is I want to normatize different types of love and different ways of showing affection, and in that space as characters. I've noticed a lot of times it's very polarized. You either have a lot of heavy petting or absolutely none. There's not really a lot of variances.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
That's life in high school, maybe, or when you first get sexually active, but that is rarely life as you grow up.
Yeah. Well, I think also, just you have a game that's, if you get to experience a game where emotionally the characters are involved, it doesn't necessarily have to mean romantically involved. I mean, look at, if we're allowed to do, I will not do any sort of spoilers, but if we're allowed to look at Critical Role season climax, the finale was not about any sort of romance, but it was about a, like, super important friendship that was a heartbreaking moment that the game essentially. If you have players at the table and a GM that is willing to encourage those moments of building those relationships, of letting them explore, of sitting back and listening, I think is also the biggest thing as a GM you can do. If you're a moment where they start to dive in and role play and improv with each other, to back up and step back and let them as much as possible, you can end up having those relationships build in, those intercharacter relationships build, and your game is going to be more satisfying because if you do. So yeah, I think that's something that's hard to achieve, but it's awesome and worth working for.
Some things I'm trying to figure out in my current one, because my character's backstory, she comes from another world. She's a princess through marriage. She has this very, very deep bond with her husband. However, they are separated by literally worlds now. As far as she knows. Maybe when that teleportation went wrong, he landed on the same planet too, but he's somewhere else. But that could take a long time to figure out, and she may be a long-lived race, but how long is she gonna wait before she decides I need to move on with the rest of my life? If I'm not ever going home, if this is my new home, then I need to make a home here, and what that decision process is gonna look like for her. So.
Yeah.
Which, that'd be hard for her because they have kids and everything. It's just, I think it could be a very similar situation as a current one in Critical Role with, with all of that. So.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? The next says, when people are in intense situations like those inevitably encountered in a campaign, people tend to bond in different ways. Could be romantic, could be like family, could be a great many different shades in between. And I like to delve into that realism. Oh yeah, and that's something that is starting to happen more and more, thankfully. But again, I think it really comes down to the group, and the dynamics.
That's something that I like to use inspiration for. I don't use inspiration for anything other than solid role play moments. If you are exceptionally your character, if you interact with another character in a way that is lined up with what your character's supposed to be, inspiration is like the easiest way to encourage that and give a real-time reward for players actually giving that back to us. And so that's what I use that for, actually.
It's an interesting way to use it. I know for me, remembering stuff that had happened in previous session, especially if it's something major that I somehow managed to forget. It's like, that's definitely a way with me, because it's like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Well, while I'm scrambling to rework a thing here or there, here, have this little bonus for reminding me about the thing I forgot.
Oh, I make them do a recap for each session, and
I
give an inspiration out for recapping. I mean, I try to. I mean, I keep notes and things, and also whatever. But I mean, so much happens in 4 hours. How much goes on? Like, you can't plan. Yeah, it's so much.
I used to take a lot of notes. I don't take as many of these anymore because I found I was getting really caught up in details that didn't really matter. So I've kind of stepped back from that a bit. And, at the same time, it's one of the things that puts me in a position where I do exercise the flexibility a bit more because I know there's stuff I forgot. All right, let's see what comes up. And, for me, it's a bit of a brain building exercise to actually forget because then it's reworking on the fly, which has been huge for me. Because I only just started DMing recently, and I was like, I'm gonna hop in with 2 feet when I do this. I'm gonna go homebrew. I'm gonna go homebrew and allow homebrew classes and races even. So, and other things. We've got a unique magic mechanic. You can't rely on your magic for anything. It could go really, really awesome, or you could potentially wipe the party with your spell if fate isn't in your favor.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that so much. I really do. Yeah.
Well, and that comes from my own personal background and my own understanding of how magic works. There is always a consequence, and I found that's one of the things that's not really addressed with D&D a lot of times. There are spells where, yes, there are consequences, but for the most part, there isn't. And it's like,
no, it's either a and not botching, which is, that's why I love World of Darkness and White Wolf games, is they always have the botch option for any role you do, magic or otherwise. You can succeed, you can fail, or you can mess it up, and then you have it go. Obviously, a critical failure is usually not all DMs really incorporate critical failures into their things, and spells in 5e, not all spells require you to even roll a d20 and make them go off. So
see, and that's,
I like that. I really like that a lot, actually.
That's what mine does is, rather than a d20, because you need a wider range, it's off of a d30. So it's either you go up, you buy a d30 if you're actually sitting down, or you use roll 20 and you don't have that issue. I'm pretty sure D&D Beyond and other ones have the d30 options too, but I use roll 20. But you roll a d30 to figure out whether it goes off and goes off badly, goes off well, or if it just goes off normal. If it goes off normal, you don't have to do the next roll. But if you go to the low end or the high end, then you're rolling a d4 to figure out just how much so. Like, was this really, really good, or was this really, really bad, or was it just kinda, didn't quite do what it was supposed to? Which, it's been fun so far.
Exactly. I like that a lot. That's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
I just want to know, on the alignment chart where you see yourself. Because I have a guess, but I want to see if
I range anywhere in the chaotic and the full range. I know sometimes I'm a very, very horrible person. I try to be better, but occasionally I'll admit, sometimes I don't care, and I'm like, I'm just gonna be a mean person for the sake of being mean because I need the pressure release that can come from that occasionally,
So maybe like chaotic neutral.
Yeah, and I play a lot of chaotic neutral because it's like, I might do this just for me, or I might do that for you. We'll see what happens.
I was somewhere in the neutral, and I was thinking either neutral, chaotic. And
No, I'm not quite reformed to good yet. One of the other things I did was I actually did away with alignments for my campaign because it is very rare for a person who sees themselves as for a person who is evil to see themselves as evil. A lot of times they see what they're doing as actually being for the good. So it's like, you're defined by your actions in what society would think and not by how you view yourself. Because a lot of times when people state their alignments, they are talking from the point of view of their character, not what anyone else would see it as. And it's where I struggle with people that are like, oh yeah, my character is lawful evil. It's like, really? Your character actually sees as what they're doing as being bad and structurally so. Like, intentionally.
That's why I don't let people tell me when we do session 0 and they want to come up with a alignment, to say, no, you play a couple of games first.
Yeah.
Play this character and then tell me what they are based on what your choices have been. Because people have an idea in their head. Oh, I'm gonna play a secret lawful evil character or whatever. And they immediately start saving people, or like, it's just like, let's see where your character choices are gonna take you, and then we'll talk about alignment.
My lawful evil character was right off the bat okay with letting characters die and maybe kind of separating party members from the rest of the party to see if it would happen faster. So I think part of that is really understanding alignments and knowing how to play them. And I think that comes from my own thought process. First place, if you already have a mind that's able to range through basically any alignment, I think it's easier to play them because you understand the thought process a bit better. Which, to a degree, that's owning up that, sometimes I'm a very powerful person. If not in action, at least in thought process. My first character, I went in knowing she was definitely chaotic neutral, and boy, session 1, she trusts this old lady druid who's in this cave littered with skulls. Absolutely, just every side of the cave covered in skulls. Druid! And asks my character if she could help her out. She's an old lady and she can't quite make it to this fountain, but she needs this potion poured into this fountain. And, even offers, since you don't know which fountain, I'll send my little ferret buddy along with, and ferret will point it out to you. Hey, this ferret is not a ferret, it's a bugbear. It just looks like a
ferret. This is making me laugh because this is something that happened to you as I just did this to one of my players like 2 sessions ago. So yeah. It is you.
So she goes, and they finally come across this fountain. And she does the thing. And then everyone on this, entire demi-plane that they're in starts dying. It's the Fountain of Youth. And she just poisoned it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
She did it in that, I'm helping this person out. I don't know what these people did that maybe they somehow deserve to die. But people living forever isn't natural or okay with the natural balance, so this doesn't bug me too much anyways, because this actually helps fix the natural balance of things. Yeah, but it really messes up the balance of good and evil, so...
Yeah. I can already think of what conundrum my grave cleric's opinion on that would be because of the whole balance issue. Yeah. That's the thing, yeah.
That was actually a request that hasn't been fulfilled because that is the game that had that major stuff happen everywhere. But she actually was given a quest by her god to fix the imbalance that she caused. How do you fix that? It's like, okay, so somehow, essentially, I've got to make another Fountain of Youth. How does a person do that?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Did they
major
do it?
undertaking. No, she hasn't yet.
Okay.
But she's done a lot of good in the world since, because, okay, if I can't make this thing, then I have to, like, single-handedly fight off the evil stuff.
Be a beacon of goodness. I don't. That it? Yeah.
Yeah. Just because, you know. And that's led to some of the character development. She's turning into Moondragon. What? I'm so good at change into all this other stuff. See, I would have gone for With a Wish, Eye of the Night, except that DM is one of those DMs where you have to word it perfectly or it absolutely will have horrible fallout. I'd rather just not ever use a wish.
Alright, so with Wish, I mean, this is my campaign where I really, really believe that my guys are gonna get to that epic level. They're gonna get their level 9s. They're gonna get that. With that moment between Sam and Liam, where Wish is literally the climax of the whole thing. It's where Vox Machina 1 was Sam making that decision. But it was also where Sam lost because he had a plan to save his best friend's life and he didn't. And it makes me think so many things. Anyway, whatever. Wish is so powerful that if you are at that level 9s, of course it's up to the GM, but like you do have to let someone you do have to let them, if they're coming up with something creative and something that is, yes, potentially potentially game breaking. It is. We only get that like 1 9th level spell. Like they are, make them work to spend it, just like Matt did in that game. You know, whittling them down, making them desperate for all of their spell slots. But if they're going to use it for that reason, like, let them use it. There's no reason not to let spell to do something.
Right. Well,
epic.
Unless it's part of the full character development hit. You know.
Yeah.
At the point where she had access to Wish because to be outraged, she's got the ring.
Oh, she's got the ring. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because, no, she's only a level 11. She doesn't have 9th level spells yet. So, her
gotcha.
Just to wish away this issue that she caused, that's not her really facing what the actual issue is, and that's that she doesn't pay attention to things the way she should. She's got this drug issue that gets in the way of everything, and at some point she needs to own up and do something about that. I mean, they go into battle, she wild shapes and becomes absolutely useless because of it. My dice roll horribly when she wild shapes, and it just fits so well, and I strongly believe dice attunement is a thing, and for me it's to the level of I get a new character.
Is a thing.
Mine's to the level I do a new character, I have to go out and get a new set, because if I use a set that is not specifically for that character, every roll will fail.
Yeah.
And while it may not necessarily be a crit fail, it is an unusual high number of crit fails. I went through 3 sets with my first character before I got a set that wasn't failing everything she did.
I lost my set. I have my dice, my core dice in a chainmail bag. Can't find it anywhere. I have a big giant dice bag of the rest of my dice. Ever since I can't find that bag, everything that I try to do with these guys fails. And they're just like, oh, you got this big bag, whatever. It doesn't matter. And they just kill all my enemies. My dice rolls are shit. It's been real bad. Dice attunement is a thing.
Yeah. And the varying degrees.
Really my believement.
I know it's a thing with my fiance and one of my other DMs. My other DM, we used to play stuff a lot together. And until he started noticing this pattern, he was fine with me touching his dice. And then he started noticing that dice that usually rolled really well if I touched them rolled super mediocre, and he didn't like that. It's like, but I'm just balancing them when I touch them, apparently. I'm not, ruining them. I'm just making them actually balanced. He's like, no, this is supposed to be a hard campaign, so my rolls need to be doing better, and you keep ruining that because you touch my dice, and suddenly they won't roll like they did before.
Okay, so
I'm like, maybe you just need more faith in them.
If no one has questions, right?
It does not appear to be the thing, no.
Okay, so my question now to you, because now I'm in DM glory, so
DM's talking shop.
Fudging rolls. How do you feel about that?
I haven't.
DM screen. I
don't know. I haven't. If I've experienced as a player, I'm not aware of it.
No, as a DM, how do you feel about fudging rolls behind the DM screen?
I think it really depends on the situation and if it actually furthers the story. If it furthers the story and it's like, I absolutely need this event to happen and my dice just said no, depending on where emotions are running on that for the players, then I might consider it. But I also know sometimes those consequences are needed, and
absolutely.
So if it's a thing, it should be very, very. It should be a very, very rare, maybe once in a campaign thing, in my opinion.
Making it very rare, I agree with, but I'm just really glad you said that, because I think it's something that every GM has done, but it's a very popular sentiment on the tabletop RPG Twitter to be like, fudging rolls as a GM sacrilege. But I think that everybody does it, and it's kind of like it can be a moment where you're saving the story from literally collapsing, or you're saving the interest of your players from literally waning and totally abandoning it. So it can be a Hail Mary, and that's my question to you.
I know.
I just wanted to feel validated, so thank you.
I know with the campaign that I run as a DM, because I do show rolls on screen. It's one of the things where if that situation comes up, I'm not going to be able to fudge it, because it's there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And it's, that's something that I know has the potential could be really, really heartbreaking if things don't roll how we need them to.
Yeah.
I know, with the one episode you were referencing, a lot of people say that it could have been different if Matt chose it, and that maybe that's what he wanted. And it's like, I think he's one of those DMs who is very, very judicious if he does fudge. And that was a situation where he didn't. If it's something he even does where he didn't warrant, but given the emotions, I don't think he does. I don't think he does, because I think if he did, he would have used it in that one.
I saw that moment in his eyes that was very recognizable. So
Yeah.
I really do think that he knew Critical Role finale spoilers for the episode for season 1. But I do think that he knew that Sam had a plan for that because Sam only had one 9th level spell as Scanlan. There was very little opportunity to use it, and Matt would have to know what spell he had as his ninth level. Matt's face didn't look shocked in the way that everyone else did. Everyone else at the table looked like, whoa, you've still got a 9th level spell left? Matt's face looked like,
Oh no.
you're doing this. Like, it looked like, oh, you're not going to save Liam, which is what I think the plan was. I think the plan was, we're going to save Vax, and I think that maybe they had a narrative developed for how that would play. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Just because, they are into the story, but holy cow, like the emotional integrity, the enormous role play that happened there. It's beautiful. And it's all we can ever hope for as DMs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's I think that's kind of where my idea from that one campaign is coming from on that is, how do we actually save this? Because the way it was written is there isn't actually a save. He indicated when it first became a thing that even a wish spell would not be able to fix that situation. So, kind of a hard spot with that. It's like, I mean, there's so many other ways we could do it. You could reincarnate. We could shoot. I could introduce a new character, and yeah, it would hurt. But
well, that's an interesting
I know
to me for a GM to do, to have no way out of a. There should always be a way out.
Yeah, I think he was trying to help a friendship form that never really had a chance, but we didn't know at the time that it didn't have a chance, and that gets into much more personal relationship stuff.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think he was trying to do something helpful and using the game to facilitate that. And so, hence the no backing out.
Yeah. It's like that episode of Community, if you have seen it, the second Dungeons and Dragons episode of that show, where they try to use Dungeons and Dragons to make a father and son reconnect. It's like, it's that kind of manipulation. Yeah.
Oh, I saw some water. So no, I think that's one of the things that I'm really, really wary as a DM now, is potentially causing those kind of situations. Like, I don't want to back anyone into any sort of corners. I will say, if I find something that doesn't quite fit the world the way I imagined, I may try and set up situations to maybe sway stuff more towards where I wanted it, but definitely not like, okay, yeah, no, that's just not possible. And that goes back to Rule of Columbus, the fact that it's homebrew and using several different supplements together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's,
Absolutely.
I've found, you know, with that there is a little bit of a hiccup I found, which is I've got players that are used to playing in traditional fantasy settings that a lot of times they forget about the kind of technology that, while maybe not available currently with how the story is something these characters would be familiar with. You know, I've got... It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. It's a fun thing to play with, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Eventually. I think the end goal is eventually have that technology up and running again. So, because it's not like the components aren't there, it's just because of events doesn't work.
That's a good, it's a good arc to go with. I like that.
Well,
See that.
if they don't do that, they're going to have a hard time with the thing they've got planned for the end.
Excellent.
Okay, I think we're done with questions. If you don't have any more questions.
No, I am great. Honestly, this is way more than I did. It's lovely. And you've been such a joy and such a help. And I'm just happy to have gotten to know you.
I'm glad too. This has been a really, really good one. I'm happy to have this out in the faces. So, with that said, thanks for being here on my podcast, and it was great having you.
Thank you. It was great being had. Is that a thing? It was great being here.
Awesome. Maybe in future we can do another one and go over other aspects.
I would love that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. I'll definitely be back in touch. Great.
Cool.
So this has been RPG Unlimited. You can find my show here on Twitch every other Friday and on YouTube on Tuesday at RPG Unlimited, as well as on Anchor on Thursdays at anchor.fm/RPG Unlimited. All in the next week. It does go out on several other platforms as well. So just stay tuned for that as it pops up.